Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, I have a couple of stories dealing with encounters with alien beings. One, the Grinning Man, and another, a reptilian. They're very, strange and frightening stories, folks, but let's get into them now and hear exactly what the witnesses experienced. On August 19th, 1972, two boys, namely Robin Felwellen and Gordon Pike, were standing next to the recreation center of Thetis Lake when they saw a scaly creature emerge from the lake and move onto the shoreline. It was, as they had described, a roughly triangle-shaped with dark, large, bulging fish-like eyes and mouth and razor-sharp spike on the top of its head. Its weight is estimated to be about 120 pounds and measures around 5 feet tall and 5 feet wide. The two teens were terrified at the sight of the huge, scaly, amphibious monster, and they ran for their lives. With its sprawling webbed extremities, the creature chased the two teenagers until a good distance from the lake. The voracious predator was able to catch up with one of the young men, lacerating his hand with its razor-pointed head. The two lads, still filled with terror after narrowly escaping the grisly creature, rushed to the nearest Royal Canadian Mountain Police Station and told the officers about the incident on Thetis Lake. They showed them the cut that was claimed to have been caused by the razor-sharp fin of the lake monster. The authorities felt sincerity about the story of the two boys, hence they immediately launched a manhunt, or should I better say monster hunt, on the said lake. However, nothing turned up during the time of investigation. The case was almost taken for granted until 4 days after, August 23rd of the same year, at around 3:30 in the afternoon, Russell Van Nice and Mike Gold claimed to have seen the same creature from the opposite side of Thetis Lake, but unlike the report of the two teens that were pursued by the creature, this time it only emerged from the lake, looked around, and submerged itself back into the water. Gold and Nice described the monster-faced creature as having a human-like body of at least 5 feet tall. It has silver-colored scaly skin, a sharp point protruding on its head, and very big ears and horrifying eyes. Source, Victoria Daily Times, RCMP. Alright folks, that was the first of several stories involving alien beings we're going to basically be reading about today, folks. In this next article, two Grinning Man encounters 25 years apart. We'll hear one story of how this man saw the Grinning Man, and then another account he had 25 years later. So let's get into these stories right now and read exactly what this man, saw and how encountering this Grinning Man frightened the living daylights out of him. So let's get into it now. This happened about 25 years ago. It happened only once, meaning it hasn't followed me around like some people report. I was driving in Torrington, Connecticut, while driving up a kind of crummy industrial street. I looked forward to seeing how the street was twisting, while about 100 yards ahead of me, on the driver's side sidewalk, I saw a figure. I could tell he or she was 1, dark, 2, tall, 3, walking very fast, as if in a hurry to get somewhere. Now, my wife was in the car also, so I kept my eyes on it. As I approached him or her, perhaps within 30 yards, he suddenly whipped around, looking straight at me. Now I saw the entire figure, dressed all in black, big floppy black leather hat, big floppy black cape, black suit, except for a white shirt with perhaps a red string tie, black pony boots or shoes. He was very tall, over 6'6", and extremely thin. His face, it was very long and thin also. He had a jutting jaw, huge dark eyes, heavy brow, and his most prominent feature, an incredibly long nose. I mean, stunningly so. He was grinning, but not a friendly or cocky grin. It was a menacing, mean grin, a grin that someone would use when they were saying, "I got you," or something hideous like that. And he kept looking at me as I drove past him. Just me, not the car, not my wife, nothing but me, or so it felt. As I drove past him, I looked in the rear-view mirror. He kept his eyes on me. His grin was wider, and perhaps he was laughing. I'd forgotten. I kept driving until he was out of sight. My wife saw him. She confirmed what I saw. Nowadays, though, she isn't so sure. Was this thing perhaps the Hat Man? I've read up on this, and while some things match, others don't. His features were clear, not shadowy, but I was filled with dread, even though it was daytime, and there was nothing really to get freaked out about. I don't really shake easily, but he got burned into my head, and he's been there for 25 years. I've never seen him again. He didn't follow me, and thank God I couldn't handle that, but there was something sinister about him. Usually when I see a weirdo, I may feel sorry for him or her, but this wasn't the case. I was scared, plain and simple, But that was N's first encounter with the Grinning Man, folks, and it wasn't the last. 25 years later, he would have another. So, let's get into that account now as well. I thought this was my first and only time seeing this character. I even began feeling guilty that I thought this poor soul may have been evil. But now, 25 years later, I had a second encounter with this thing, this time under much more puzzling circumstances. I was driving home from work. The road damp from a slight drizzle that had stuck around all day. Usually I'm a fast driver, always driving the maximum speed allowed by Connecticut law. I'm not used to being passed by other vehicles, but looking in my side mirror, I could tell that a car was about to pass me with ease. As he pulled even with me, the car slowed down to match my speed and stared into my car. At first, I thought it was a friend who recognized my vehicle. Looking into the car, I saw a man driving, all decked out in a big Three Musketeer type hat. I thought he was simply a weird dude until he turned to meet my stare, and it all came rushing back. This was the same guy, or looked like the dude, I saw 25 years ago. Same gigantic nose, same huge chin, and then he smiled. It all came flooding back, the terrifying, taunting, evil teeth-filled grin. It sent shivers up my spine. Then something really weird happened. Throwing his head back in what I saw as a terrifying laugh, he sped up and pulled ahead of me in the left lane. Then I experienced something I could not explain. When he was about 20 yards ahead of me, he suddenly took a right-hand turn at 70 miles per hour. He didn't pull into my lane. He just made a 90-degree turn, as one would do when turning the corner of a street. I missed his rear quarter panel by mere inches. When I looked in the rearview mirror, I expected to see him spin out of control or smash into another vehicle, but I simply saw him traveling across the highway, heading at high speeds towards the wall lining the freeway. Not a chance he could avoid it. He was hustling towards a sure fatal crash with the wall when he simply disappeared. There was no crashing sound, no nothing. He was gone. Needless to say, I was shocked. How could a car doing 70 make a 90-degree turn? How did he just disappear? How could I have been the only other car on a busy highway during rush hour? And why 25 years later? Hatman? Weirdo? This episode is much harder to explain than the initial meeting. That's my story. This thing is a creep. Seems to enjoy scaring the crap out of me. Oh, and to make things even weirder, my wife now swears she remembers no such being ever crossing paths with us in. And those are the stories I've read to you all today, folks. They're both very strange. Encounters with supernatural creatures that, well, there's no explanation for. I mean, the first account with the reptilian being, it seems to have been living in a lake, folks. Now, do you suppose that it really was an alien reptilian? Maybe there was some sort of UFO base at the bottom of the lake, and it was basically, well, living down there, maybe doing some sort of research or something. But then, why did it get out of the lake in front of these two kids and even hurt one of them? Maybe it did this as a test to basically see the fear response in these two teenagers, perhaps? I don't know. That's an explanation I've come up for with some encounters, folks. But if you think about it, folks, the story I added with this Grinning Man, it's very similar to the encounter with the reptilian, because in this encounter, the Grinning Man frightens this man and seems to basically wanted him to basically be frightened of him, and did everything in its power to do so, and even mocking him as this man, sped off in fear. So, is he right to think that the Grinning Man is an evil entity? And what about those two teenagers? Their account was very similar in the fact that, well, they were frightened the living daylights out of as well. So maybe these creatures want our fear. Maybe these two entities were feeding on this man's fear. And the fact that when this man basically started to think that this entity was maybe not evil, it came back to frighten him again, because maybe on some level it was always feeding on him, perhaps. Maybe. I don't know, folks. They could be aliens. They could be supernatural beings. We just don't know. Either way, folks, I hope one day that we do get explanations for these kinds of encounters, because I would love to know what's actually up with this all. And maybe we'll learn all these supernatural instances are all connected. Either way, folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. There are other links to Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, or BitChute, Dark Saints, Robot Co-op, and stitched together pics. And remember, I upload exclusive videos to Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, or BitChute that I do not upload to YouTube. If you want to see them, use those links down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to my channels on those websites. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.